There's something profound, almost mystical, about being fully seen and still loved. Not the kind of love that's impressed by the polished version of you, not the kind that only shows up when you're at your best, smiling wide and doing all the right things. No, I'm speaking of a deeper recognition. A soul-level acknowledgement. When God places someone in your life who truly loves you, one of the clearest, most undeniable signs is this. They see the real you and love you anyway. They don't flinch when you're vulnerable. They don't disappear when your insecurities come to the surface. They don't run away when life gets messy and your mask slips off. Instead, they lean in. They make room for the real you, not just the version that makes people proud or earns applause. They see the version of you that you may have tried to hide from the world, and in that they don't shame you, they embrace you. Why? Because God doesn't send love that's blind. He sends love that sees. And what's more powerful than being known, truly known, and still chosen? That's the kind of love that doesn't require performance. It doesn't demand you to be someone else. It says, I see your broken parts, your doubts, your history, your depth, and I choose you. That's not just human affection. That's divine recognition working through someone's heart. Think about it. When someone truly loves you the way God intends, they aren't fixated on the superficial. They aren't concerned with how perfectly your life fits into theirs. Their heart is stirred by your spirit. They are not distracted by the details of your past because they're captivated by the person you're becoming. They love you in progress. They love you in process. And there's something very freeing about that. Because when you feel truly seen and still cherished, you stop pretending. You stop walking on eggshells. You begin to breathe a little easier. That kind of love invites authenticity. It says, come as you are, stay as you grow. And isn't that what God does with us? He doesn't wait for us to get it all right. He doesn't hold back His love until we've checked all the boxes. Motivational says, He sees the end from the beginning and loves us through every flawed chapter in between. So when someone mirrors that, when they reflect that same patient, unconditional, unshakable presence, it's not something you can manufacture. It's a sign, a clear, undeniable sign. They're not loving you because you meet their expectations. They're loving you because something in their spirit recognizes you. And when love is rooted in recognition instead of requirement, it grows freely, it flows without fear. It becomes a safe place to heal, to laugh, to evolve. This doesn't mean they'll always agree with you or that the journey will be without tension. But even in conflict, even in discomfort, the love remains intact. It doesn't retreat at the first sign of difficulty. It knows that your flaws don't cancel out your worth. It knows that connection isn't about perfection, it's about presence. Being there, staying, choosing again and again. And isn't that exactly what divine love looks like? A continual choosing, a steady hand that holds even when everything feels uncertain. So when God is trying to show you someone truly loves you, one of the clearest ways He does it is by sending someone who stays, someone who doesn't need you to hide or shrink or perform. They want the real you. And when you give it to them, they don't run, they draw closer. So if you found someone like that, or if someone has entered your life and their love feels like a mirror of God's grace, pay attention. Because that kind of love, it isn't ordinary, it's not common. It's a sacred whisper wrapped in skin, reminding you that heaven often speaks through the hearts of people. And in that quiet knowing, you'll realize real love never demands a mask. It simply asks for your truth. There's something subtle yet unmistakable about love when it's real. You don't have to guess. You don't have to analyze every word or second guess every silence. Because when someone truly loves you, especially when God is in it, it begins to show up in the fruit, not just the feeling. Words can be sweet, promises can sound poetic. But love, when it's genuine, begins to take shape through character, not charisma. And if you look closely, you'll start to notice the evidence. Not in grand gestures or perfectly worded confessions, but in the quiet consistency of how they treat you and how they carry themselves. Love that comes from a divine place reflects something deeper, something more grounded. It shows up in the fruits of the Spirit. You'll recognize it in their patience, when they wait for you to open up instead of rushing your process. When they give you space to heal rather than pressuring you to be ready on their timeline. There's no forcing, no manipulation, just presence, gentle, consistent presence. You'll see it in their kindness. Not just when it's easy to be kind, not just when things are going well, but even in moments of stress or tension. They choose gentleness over harshness. They listen more than they speak. They make you feel safe in the space you share with. Love that is rooted in God doesn't boast. It doesn't parade around needing to be noticed. It simply is. You feel it in the way they consider your needs, the way they notice the small things, the way they serve, not for reward, but from a place of genuine care. And when they mess up, and they will because we all do, they're quick to own it. Not with empty apologies, but with humility. With a sincere heart that seeks peace, not control. You'll know they're not trying to win against you in conflict. They're trying to win with you. Because in their mind, it's not you versus them. It's the both of you standing together, facing whatever needs to be faced. That's faithfulness. Not just being physically present, but emotionally anchored. Consistently showing up, doing what they said they'd do. Not disappearing when things get difficult. Not loving you only when it's convenient or easy, but remaining steady, committed, rooted in something far bigger than just feelings. Love that reflects God's nature doesn't need to rush. It's not trying to impress, it just is. You'll notice it doesn't come with confusion. It won't leave you guessing whether you're enough or wondering what games are being played. It brings peace even when life is chaotic. It carries a certain stillness within it. A kind of unshakable calm that says, I'm here, I see you, I choose you. And the beauty of this kind of love is that it doesn't need to announce itself loudly. It doesn't need to be constantly validated or reassured. Because the actions are loud enough, they speak with a quiet strength that doesn't waver. You see, when God is behind a connection, He doesn't just give you someone who says they love you. He gives you someone who lives it. Someone whose character confirms what their lips confess. And even if they don't know every verse or speak with religious precision, their life starts to resemble the very heart of God. Because love, real love, isn't just a feeling you fall into. It's a reflection you grow into. And when someone's love is truly coming from a place of divine inspiration, you'll feel the difference. You won't be exhausted trying to earn it. You won't feel like you're walking on glass to keep it. You'll simply feel held, encouraged, uplifted. So if someone's actions echo the fruit of the Spirit, if their love brings peace, their presence brings calm, and their heart reflects humility, don't take it lightly. That's not just a good person. That's a divine sign, because the highest form of love isn't loud, it's consistent. There's a kind of love that doesn't always show itself in public. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't clamor for attention. And yet, it's one of the most powerful forms of connection there is. You know what it looks like? It looks like someone praying for you in secret, lifting your name quietly in the middle of the night, holding you in their heart when you're not even around to see it. Now, we're used to seeing love displayed through physical presence, through sweet words, gifts, affection, and time, and those are all important. But there's a deeper layer, a more intimate thread that we often overlook, the spiritual bond. And when someone truly loves you, when their love is rooted in something greater than themselves, you'll start to notice this unmistakable sign. They pray with you and they pray for you. It's not forced, it's not performative, it's not done to impress or to tick a box. It flows naturally like a river finding its way back to the sea. Because someone who truly loves you the way God intends will want to include you in their spiritual world. They'll want to cover you, uplift you, and invite heaven into the space between you. Not because they feel obligated, but because their heart longs to see you thrive. Not just outwardly, but deep within your soul. And here's the beautiful thing. Prayer in its truest form is an act of surrender. It's a letting go. It says, I love you enough to place you in the hands of the one who knows you best. That kind of love isn't trying to control or fix you. It's not rooted in ego. It's rooted in trust that God is moving even when neither of you can see it yet. When someone prays for you, they're not just speaking into the air. They're planting seeds in the spiritual realm. Seeds that grow in silence, seeds that take root in mystery, seeds that often bloom when you least expect it. And the beauty of it, you may never hear all those prayers, but you'll feel their effects. Suddenly, in moments of heaviness, you'll feel peace that doesn't make sense. In seasons of confusion, you'll feel strength that didn't come from you. In places of fear, you'll feel clarity whisper through the noise. And more often than not, it's because someone somewhere was lifting you up without asking for credit, without needing a thank you, without needing you to know at all. That's love. Not just the kind that holds your hand, but the kind that holds your name before God. Not just the kind that shows up in daylight, but the kind that wars for you in the unseen. And when someone includes you in their prayers, it means you're not just occupying their thoughts, you're woven into the deepest part of their heart. And if that person also invites you to pray with them, to sit in the silence, to wrestle in the mystery, to seek peace together, that's a whole other level. Because it's one thing to talk about love. It's another to build it on a foundation that can't be shaken. When two people begin to pray together, their connection deepens beyond the surface. Ego begins to fade. Pride starts to dissolve. You begin to see each other not just as people in each other's lives, but as souls on a shared path. Love becomes less about possession and more about purpose. It becomes less about what you can get from each other and more about how you can grow side by side under the guidance of something much greater than yourselves. So if someone prays for you, genuinely, consistently, quietly, pay attention, because that kind of love doesn't come from selfishness. It doesn't seek applause. It flows from a place of spiritual depth that can't be faked. And in this world of noise and performance, that silent prayer might just be the loudest expression of love you'll ever receive. There's a kind of love that doesn't just stroke your ego, it speaks to your calling. A love that doesn't simply say, I like who you are, but instead whispers, I see who you're becoming and I'm here to protect that. Now that's not just affection, that's alignment. And when God brings someone into your life who truly loves you, one of the undeniable signs is this: they don't just care about your feelings, they care about your purpose. You'll know it because they won't let you shrink, they won't let you settle for less than what God put in you. And they certainly won't stand by while you sabotage yourself. This kind of person calls you higher, not by tearing you down, but by consistently reminding you of who you really are beneath the doubt and distraction. It's easy to fall for someone who makes you feel good. But it's rare to find someone who cares more about your destiny than your comfort. That kind of love challenges you, not because they're critical, but because they're invested. They're not in your life to pacify your wounds, they're here to help you grow through them. They see the weight of your calling, and instead of getting intimidated or trying to compete with it, they nurture it, they protect it, they speak life into it. And that doesn't always feel like romance. Sometimes it feels like a gentle nudge when you want to give up. Sometimes it sounds like tough truth spoken in love when you're veering off course. Sometimes it shows up as silence when they know you need to sit with something a little longer to really learn from it. Real love has the wisdom to know when to encourage you and the courage to tell you when you're running from who you're meant to be. And let's be honest, ego doesn't like that. We all want someone who will clap for us, but the one who loves you for real will also pull you aside and say, you're better than that. Not to shame you, but to remind you of your light when you've forgotten how to shine. Because they're not just in love with your charm or your gifts. They're in love with your calling. They're in love with your process. They see your anointing even when you feel ordinary. And while others may admire the surface, they're deeply connected to your foundation. This person knows that love isn't just about protecting how you feel in the moment. It's about protecting what you're here to do in the long run. And that's what makes it divine. That's what makes it rare. Because they're not just trying to build a life with you. They're committed to helping you build the life God intended for you. And here's where it gets even more beautiful. They don't do this with control or pressure. They do it with presence, with consistency, with quiet strength. They don't push you, they invite you. They don't shame you. They believe in you so deeply it becomes impossible not to rise. That's when you realize this isn't just someone who loves you. This is someone who honors the God in you, who recognizes that your purpose matters just as much as your personality, who understands that your life isn't just about romance or comfort or companionship. It's about meaning, about impact, about fulfilling something bigger than either of you. And when someone stands beside you in that, when they protect not just your heart but your calling, you've found something holy, something that doesn't just feel good, it does good. And it lasts, because in the end, love that only protects your feelings might feel safe. But love that protects your purpose will set you free. Sometimes we think love is supposed to feel like fireworks, loud, dramatic, undeniable. But when it's real, when it's touched by something higher, it often arrives in a much quieter form. It doesn't rush in shouting its presence. It flows gently like a river finding its rhythm. And one of the most profound ways you'll know someone truly loves you, especially when it's from God, is that there's a sense of divine ease in your connection. Not perfection, not a life without problems, but an unmistakable peace in the midst of it all. This doesn't mean you won't face difficulties or have disagreements. Life has its fair share of storms, but somehow with this person, the storms don't shake you like they used to. The tension doesn't tear at your core. The connection doesn't unravel when things aren't ideal. There's a flow between you that feels familiar, even if you've just met. Not like you've known each other for years necessarily, but like your spirits recognize one another. Like your souls finally exhaled when you found each other. It's a kind of ease that doesn't need constant explaining. You don't feel the need to prove yourself or wear a mask. You can just be, and they can just be. And in that simplicity, something sacred takes root. You communicate without force. You listen without preparing to argue. You hold space for one another without trying to control what fills it. And that space, it feels safe. It feels like home. This ease isn't laziness though. It doesn't mean there's no effort. In fact, both of you care enough to show up fully, to work through miscommunication, to learn each other's hearts. But even in those moments, it doesn't feel like a constant uphill battle. There's a grace in the process, a softness that lets you breathe, even when things are hard. And perhaps that's the divine part, because when something is truly from God, it will stretch you, but it won't break you. It will teach you, but it won't torment you. It will challenge you, but it won't confuse you into chaos. That's what separates divine love from mere chemistry. Chemistry might be magnetic, but alignment, true God-given alignment, brings order to the soul. Have you ever had a connection that felt like work before it even began? Where you were constantly second-guessing, questioning, decoding every moment? It drains you. Leaves you tired before anything can even grow. But divine love, it gives, it energizes. Not because it's always easy, but because it's always real. This ease shows up in the little things, the unspoken understanding, the shared silences that aren't awkward, just full. The way you feel seen without having to explain every corner of your mind, and you might not even notice it at first. It creeps in gently. But when you stop and reflect, you'll realize, I'm not afraid here. You're not walking on eggshells. You're not shrinking. You're not being twisted into someone you're not. You're simply growing together, and that's when it hits you. The peace you feel with them isn't a coincidence. It's a clue, a soft nudge from the divine whispering, this is different, this is safe, this is good. Because God doesn't pair souls to bring confusion. He brings people together to co-create peace, to mirror grace, to walk hand in hand, not in constant friction, but in flow. So if you found someone where the connection doesn't strain your spirit, but steadies it, where you feel God more, not less, when they're near, then what you're experiencing may not be ordinary love. It may just be a holy alignment. And in a world full of noise and endless striving, there is nothing more unmistakable than a love that feels like quiet water, steady, deep, and at peace. There's a fine line between someone who loves you and someone who wants to be your everything. And though it sounds romantic, this idea of being someone's whole world, it's actually a heavy burden to carry. Because we were never designed to replace God in someone's life. Nor were we meant to make someone else our savior. That role was already taken. And when someone truly loves you with a love that reflects the divine, they don't try to fill a space they were never meant to occupy. They reflect God's love. They don't attempt to replace it. This is where it becomes clear who's truly aligned with your soul, because anyone can say they love you. But when someone encourages your walk with God instead of distracting you from it, when they hold space for your spirit instead of competing with your faith, when they ask you how your heart is doing, not just emotionally, but spiritually, that's a different kind of love. That's not ego, that's reverence. You see, someone who's truly meant for you isn't threatened by your relationship with God. They're not intimidated by your need for stillness, your time alone in prayer, your moments of seeking clarity from above. In fact, they respect it, they encourage it. Because they understand that loving you well means loving the one who created you first. And that kind of person knows they're not the center of your universe. They're not there to complete you because you were never incomplete. They're there to walk with you, not to stand in front of the light that guides you. The closer you get to God, the more their love blossoms, not wilts. It doesn't compete for your attention. It aligns with your direction. That's how you know it's real. That's how you know it's safe. There's a quiet confidence in someone who loves you this way. They don't need constant reassurance because their love isn't built on shaky ground. It's rooted in faith. It breathes in freedom. It says, I'm here for you, but I'm not your source. They know they can't give you what only God can. And instead of pretending they can, they simply point you back to where all love truly begins. It's a beautiful balance. They're with you fully, emotionally, physically, practically, but they never demand you worship them. They don't crave control over your joy. They don't seek to be your healer. They honor your journey, your boundaries, your time with the divine, because they know when your soul is fed, when your heart is whole, when your spirit is aligned with something greater, that's when you love best. And what you'll notice is their love doesn't dim your light. It fans it into flame. It doesn't crowd your growth. It makes room for it. They're not trying to be your everything because they know being your partner is more than enough. They want to rise with you, build with you, but most importantly, they want to see you anchored in something deeper than just the highs and lows of human emotion. So when someone walks beside you without trying to be your savior, when they support your faith instead of pulling you from it, when they don't need you to shrink your spirit so they can feel big, pay attention. That's a rare kind of love. And it's not accidental, it's intentional, it's sacred. Because real love, the kind that's breathed into existence by the divine, doesn't compete with God, it cooperates with Him. It doesn't try to take His place. It humbly takes your hand and walks with you, both of you facing forward, guided by a light that neither of you created, but both of you trust. And the moment you experience that kind of love, quiet, strong, reverent, you'll know it didn't come from the world. It came through someone, yes, but it came from above.